This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Shice Podcast Network.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Hello, Bad Movie lovers, and welcome back to Bad Movies We Love. I am your host, Nick Scheist.
The master of the stupid stuff!
We are keeping the stupid stuff rolling right along here as we head towards the end of February. And I actually overbooked so much during the month of February that there's going to be a couple of bonus episodes coming out right at the end of the month rather than on the regular Monday release day. In fact, February was so jam-packed that we had a Bimon Sci-Fi-Con episode scheduled, but I've got nowhere to put that one, so I'm going to just move that a little bit further down the line, and you will hear us talk about I Am Legend. There's also a new Filmmaker in Focus episode that I just released over the weekend as well, so if you're interested in that side of the business, then make sure to check that out as well. As for today's episode, which is really what we're all here for, I was joined by Steven from the Stacks once again, and once again, we are diving into a film from the Video Nasties list. And this time it is René Cardona's Night of the Bloody Apes from 1969. So kick your feet up, relax, and join us for some Mexican monster madness.
People that are going to watch a movie that is called Night of the Bloody Apes from the 60s are probably going to like a film that's called Night of the Bloody Apes from the 60s.
This is really like Frankenstein with an ape face.
There's a lot of just rubbing of faces and fake blood appears.
Speaking of vague squelching.
What a funny thing for a person to say. And then he gets an ape face for a while.
Yeah, pick up a weapon with his foot or something.
Now, if you're in the medical field, kidnapping people and murdering them, it's just not good practice.
Extended scenes of luchador action.
Editing is a real skill and a craft, and this film doesn't have it.
Night of the Bloody Apes.
Oh, I'm joined by Steven from the Stacks.
Yeah,
It's been quite a while since you've been here. You know, it feels like Absurd was not that long ago. I feel like I've.
It's because it lives in the mind. Absurd is a film that stays with you, that you can't throw off. But yeah, this is my monthly visit. I'm like a traveling priest that comes to give a sermon, and this is my annual address on the strangeness that's happening in the Italian scene. Still weird out there.
Still weird. But yeah, I just feel like I've mentioned Absurd probably a handful of times in the last year on the podcast, or it's popped up in some way. So it's good to have you back. One thing I didn't ask you the last time you were here, which sort of I wanted to start incorporating into my conversations with guests, is what was the movie that probably was like your first acknowledgement of, hey, I'm watching something that like I know is bad, but I'm like really enjoying it. Like, what was that first conscious moment?
That is such a good question. I don't know if I can think of that much of an early example, but I really remember being desperate to watch Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li.
Okay.
Which is not it's not an overly recent movie, but it's not an old movie, because I'd heard so much rancid takes on Street Fighter: Legend of Chun-Li, and as a fan of the video game series Street Fighter, I was desperate to watch this film for the reasons of it cannot be that bad and just luxuriating in its badness. And then we got some friends together and we watched Street Fighter and Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li back to back, and then Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat Annihilation back to back. And that way, like, you know, these two of the movies are arguably good, maybe, and then two of these movies are arguably terrible. In fact, inarguably terrible. So I think the main impetus is the collective watching of something that you can sit around and make jokes about whilst it's playing. and then that leads to you watching stuff in your own time to then find films that you can then show to people. You go, oh, we can sit around and have a few beers and joke about this. So that's the catalyst.
Yeah, well, that Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter is a movie that I've talked about on this show, and it's definitely one that I knew.
It's great.
Yeah, I mean, it is great.
I mean, for you, it's Tuesday. Talk about a movie. But,
Raul Julia is great. The rest of the movie is a wonderful mess to be fair.
I really like that. But as a Street Fighter fan, I should hate that movie, but I like it as a Street Fighter fan because it is so determined to throw in all the proper nouns of Street Fighter, but has no actual understanding of them. So it just makes tertiary characters just random people, and I really enjoy its dedication to, oh gosh, we've got this license, we might as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, at that time, I don't know that you make a better Street Fighter movie than that, because like you said, they have the license. It might be a one and done kind of thing, so you really want to incorporate it, and it's at a time
you've got an all-American hero, so you cast Jean-Claude Van Damme. You've got an all-British hero, so you cast Kylie Minogue. It makes sense,
100%.
There's a new Street Fighter movie this year. Very exciting.
Yes, I saw when the trailer came out for that people were very sort of like upset with how silly it looked, and I'm like, what do you want? This is exactly what I want out of a Street Fighter movie.
Also, have you played Street Fighter? It's quite silly.
Yes,
it's also called Street Fighter. Come on.
Yes, so I am excited for that, but I digress. We're here not to talk about Street Fighter, although we could. We're here to talk
kind of street fighting.
There is some street violence. We'll say that much, and there is some fighting.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it's got a couple of those bases covered, but we are talking about Night of the Bloody Apes, which we laid the groundwork for like 2 years ago now.
Yeah, it's like the Avengers Initiative. If you listen to the end of every podcast, there is a clue that leads you to Night of the Bloody Apes.
Exactly. And this was directed by René Cardona, but also
arguably
written by René Cardona and René Cardona Jr.
Again, arguably.
Writing, yeah, more or less, but starring José, Elías, Moreno, Carlos López, Moctezuma, and Armando Silvestre. So, this is not a movie that I was familiar with before you brought it up, but when we had talked about what we were going to do next, this was the one that we decided on. So I've always had it like pinned to the map of, hey, I'm circling back to this one. I'm not going to forget about it. And it took a long time to get here. So what was your first experience with this movie? Like, where did you find it?
I mentioned in the last podcast my video nasties obsession. So this came as part of that because it is one of the video nasties. But my interest in this predates this, because I don't even think it was a Mark Kermode podcast. I think it was one of his channel for film for extreme cinema introduction things, and he just spoke about this wild movie he had seen that was part luchador movie, part ape transplant movie, and then was a little bit King Kong, and also had real footage of heart surgery in it, and it was what the hell is this film? And he said, you have to see it to believe it. It's not very good, but it's really something. And then when I was watching the bunch of video nasties, I was like, that's the movie. That's the one. Night of the Bloody Apes. And also just the title is wonderful. So yeah, I sought it out during that binge, and it really stuck with me as a very enjoyable film.
That's fair. I wouldn't say that it's bad necessarily. I mean, I think there are like watermarks of it being a bad movie. Like, it is incredibly low budget. It struggles with its low budget. There is a moment very early too where they're going to capture the gorilla, and they very clearly show us an orangutan, and then it's like person in a gorilla suit, and I'm like, wait, did they just not have a gorilla? What happened here?
It's also really bad screenwriting disguised as wonderfully non-chronological storytelling, where they show you the whole gorilla stuff and then they explain that about 20 minutes later in the plot of, you just happen to see out of nowhere. You were at this point ostensibly watching a luchador film, and then it just cuts to someone going to a zoo and shooting a gorilla, and it's like, sorry, what? And then about half an hour later they go, we need to cover up that gorilla that we shot to get its heart to give to my son that's got leukemia or something. You're just like, why are these scenes in this order? What is going on? And I really enjoyed that in a movie when things are deeply out of order.
Yeah, I feel like the editing is probably one of like the things that is its largest, I guess, weakness. But it also
the
gives
editing
it gives it its charm.
is abysmal. Yeah. It's there are several scenes that are supposed to suggest extreme violence in this film, and they are mostly just scattered close-ups of a face with a hand lightly caressing it and just sound of people screaming. And most scenes also run a tiny bit long and are not cut correctly at the end, so the characters will just stop talking for a little bit, and the scene will just like that. That's great.
Yeah, and there is also sort of like you mentioned about like the fact that this is a luchador movie when it starts, and this is like essentially not connected at all to the rest of this story. Although
it flirts with being connected, it threatens to be related to the plot, and then the plot is going no, push away.
It takes place at the same time as the primary story, and I guess the detective sort of splits his time between the world of lucha libre and eventually deciding to track down this killer.
Bloody ape.
I will say I was expecting more apes. This is the night of the bloody ape singular.
Yeah, it doesn't really give you a night. It's not really a one night movie. It's not that bloody, apart from the real footage of heart surgery, which kind of rips. And yeah, there is arguably only one ape, if we are to follow the logic of the movie, which is that an ape's essence is held in its heart. And therefore, when you transfer the heart of an ape, one of my favorite things in any movie ever is when something ridiculous has to happen because it's a film, and then a character goes, I'm going to need to explain why this thing, which is fictional and could never make sense, completely makes sense. And any movie is going to bungle that slightly, because if it's an invented concept, it can never quite make enough sense. And when a doctor has to explain why someone's son's face has now turned into a very bad makeup of an ape face, and it's because an ape's heart is too potent for a human.
It's pumping too much ape blood into his brain, apparently.
Yeah.
I was on board though. I was on board with the doctor just being like, look, this is a last ditch effort. We need a healthy heart. I feel like a larger heart maybe will help pump some of the blood out of the system. Like if they're going to, because they had already done blood transfusions, there was already like a little bit of actual sort of medical science on the table in the film. And then they're like, hold on, we need to stop you for 3 minutes of exposition while I explain to my Igor, my villainous doctor's assistant with a scar, about
who will occasionally pass me a gun. Give me a gun.
And yeah, that whole moment where he decides to like break down what is happening and like then acknowledge, well, yeah, this was the one thing that I kind of was like hoping wouldn't have happened, but it is this very rare thing where okay, here's all the parameters of how often he's going to change into an ape and how long it will last
the ape when he sleeps.
So like I was on board with less explanation. So the fact that the movie decided to like take the time to really try to explain it, I don't know if that's just like one of those things where this is a movie that is a lot more like concept heavy than it is details heavy, and it's not a story that needs the exposition there, or if because the character is a doctor that they really felt the need to like include some kind of an explanation for the audience.
I think that's where it straddles the line of going from a boring bad movie into a really fun bad movie, because the doctor's lines are so verbose of the way he speaks every time. And I noted a few of them down because so there is the ape's blood is too potent for a human heart, but there's also the assassin must be exceptionally strong, especially in his hands. Things like that are said every now and then, and I want over-explanation if it's things like that. And then also at the end when you've got Julio, give me the child. Julio, give me the child. Well, you've got a character where when he speaks, it's very, very funny. So the over-explanation I want all the way through, and it makes it memorable and enjoyably terrible, as opposed to just another just schlocky whatever. The ineptness is what I come back to. This shambolic mess of a film, deeply endearing.
Well, I also feel like probably Jose Elias Moreno is like the best actor in the film, but also
he's the one that's doing acting, I think.
Yeah,
really.
that's probably a better way to put it. Like, I think he's got a good face for the camera, and he sort of has that strange, like, era-specific look. And so him being the lead in the film also is very sort of telling of how you're going to communicate to the audience through this character. And so like he kind of has like a weird mad scientist look, or like he's got like a look of authority as well with his mustache and stuff. So I like the inclusion of a lot of that dialogue being the burden of his to deliver, because a lot of the other characters don't really have any like input into the rest of what is happening. So like it all sort of falls on his shoulders.
Yeah, he's the only person that is evoking a Hammer. He thinks he's in a Hammer horror film and is giving that. He is carrying that like camp gravitas, and it is like perfectly, to the extent that this film is ultimately a Frankenstein story.
Yeah.
It is kind of the Prometheus tale, and it is that very classic Gothic horror story of I wanted to preserve life, and in preserving life, I created. Through my greed of preserving life, I created much damage, and who is the real monster? Is it the monster I created? It is a wonderful Frankenstein story that, dare I say, is better than the Frankenstein that released last year, but so are many films. So hardly saying anything.
We will not have that discussion here because we're going to get
yes,
sidetracked. But yes, this is very much
movie wasn't good.
This is very much a Frankenstein film, right? I mean, he has an Igor, and I was like, okay, so this is all very intentional. Like you want to make a monster in the basement type of story. This is the second movie that we're talking about where they're making monsters in the basement somewhere. So I feel like you have a particular penchant for low budget
we've talked about of expanding organs, overpowering someone and turning them into a monster, which is apparently a thing that I just love as a plot point. Of you just give a man an organ that overexpands and drives them mad, and that's a horror movie. Conrad says a film is a girl and a gun. I say no, a film is an overexpanding organ that drives you mad with bloodlust. That's a movie.
Yeah, man, this is it's entertaining for sure. I feel like it's not long, although some of the scenes are overlong, and that kind of like draws it out a little bit more than maybe it should be. But I mean, in this kind of world where I think the movie is what, like an hour and 15 minutes, maybe something like that, barely. I feel like a conventional approach to this would be to maybe focus on like the actual sort of detective nature of the story, because there is like a series of crimes going on. There is a detective involved. You have the doctor who then inserts himself like into the actual investigation because like he's also the person that committed one of the crimes
and killed it.
Well, he's committed, yes, I guess all of the crimes he is technically responsible for. But yeah, the extended scenes of luchador action are questionable.
Completely vestigial.
Yes. I mean, I like Lucha Libre. I appreciate the fact that this movie decides to like include that. I mean, it's a Mexican film, so it wants to
female
embrace
wrestlers
that
as well.
Yeah, and you have the first character that we see is the female wrestler, and she like almost kills her opponent in the ring.
It's wow, it's absolutely wild. It's which makes you think, I know what company this is. So yeah, it just opens with what you think is the main character donning her lucha outfit and then fighting in the ring, and then she thinks she's killed someone, and then we think she hasn't, and then we find out for the whole film, no, she pretty much definitively has. It's going to be experimental surgery to this person's life, and then you are sure. It's going to join the main plot. There you go. And they even say this whole point of like, we can use this person. And then the film just kind of forgets about that and just moves somewhere else because the plot gets in the way. So it's just got this wonderful tease of this lucha film is going to become relevant. No, it's going to be relevant. It will be relevant. Not at all.
Yeah, I was sort of like expecting, okay, maybe there is confrontation where like the lucha skills come in handy. You know, maybe you do a snapmare or an arm drag takedown and throw the ape off of the roof, but none of that happens.
This is apparently the director remaking his own film, and in a previous film, apparently it was very much a tale of a female lucha saving the day at the end, and I think this, to postulate, I think this comes very much of the era of, because one of the other titles is Sex and Death, I think. So this very much feels like we've got 5 pages of script, and how do I get an audience? I'm throwing a bunch of blood and a bunch of breasts at this film, and we'll see what happens. So the best bit of this film, apart from the wonderful campy stuff, is the montage at the beginning, which makes you go, what the hell is this movie? As it just shows you stills and clips. And that seems to be why this movie was made of, we just put a bunch of popular, tantalizing, wild stuff in a film. So you can talk about it. People like me will watch it and go, that was utterly bizarre. But mostly it's very boring, which I appreciate.
I appreciate the sort of the gusto that it takes to be like, we don't really have an idea here. I made this previous film that is a much more coherent film that actually ties these plots together and maybe makes more sense. And for this, I don't really know, but we're gonna do it. And I mean, it's a horror thing to like throw nudity into a movie for the sake of having it to like, you know, tantalize the audience. Like you said, this movie ends up on the video nasties list. I think, I don't know. I mean, you're much more familiar with that than I am. And I'm trying to figure out exactly why, because it's kind of tame by horror standards. And aside from the actual open heart surgery that we see, which is medical footage, right?
Dare I say, it looks awesome. Which makes me sound like a terrible person, but it looks great.
It does look good. I was actually watching that because I've seen open heart surgery before in a much more controlled environment where there's like, hey, there's a rib protractor and like it actually looks like they're doing it in a doctor's office. This looks like two neophytes being like, hey, how do we do open heart surgery? I don't know, but we've cut into this person's chest and now we're pulling their beating heart out. So like in this movie where so many things look bad, I think the juxtaposition of like how insane that looks in this film is really crazy. But like, do you have any insight about like why this ended up on the Video Nasties list?
The answer is quite prosaic because there's so many things. The reason behind most inclusions on the Video Nasty list was not content. It was just complete witch hunt. There are most of the films on there were just on there because of the title. If you had zombie in your title, you got put on the list. And it was poster based as well. So Driller Killer was on the list not because of what was in it, but they were said, if you don't change this poster of a man getting drilled in the face, it's being put on the list. And they're like, well, no, we're definitely keeping the poster now. And The Witch Who Came from the Sea, which is not even really a horror movie, because it's called The Witch Who Came from the Sea, and because it has a metaphorical poster of like this temptress sea woman that's got a man's severed head. The film's nothing about that at all. But because it was conceptually driven of just scaremongering to ban this filth that was primarily a war against the presumed working class that were renting videos to keep culture out of the hands of certain people and have to like governmental control of culture. This was one of many films that was, by description alone, put it on the list, ban it. And I think based under the auspices of why would you not ban this? The people who want to ban these films go, well, why did anyone watch this anyway? What is benefited from not banning something as trashy as this?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I was reading through the list of the films that were on the Video Nasties list, and I was like, this would be a fun project to just tackle all of these and to sort of try to like connect the dots. But I feel like there's almost like two schools of maybe films that fell in there, and like ones that are sort of like provocative for the sake of trying to be provocative. Like, because once the list exists, there is this knowledge that, hey, if we make a movie that then gets put on this list, that sort of puts us in this category of like, oh, this underground kind of thing that is being blocked from public access, and so it gives it a reputation. And then there's other stuff where I feel like this is almost like on the outside, where it's like it's definitely exploitation, but I think when did the list start? In the 70s? Because this was 69.
So it's the 80s. This is why it's so stupid, because it is mostly retroactively applied to films you could have just seen and have obviously done nothing and hurt nobody, apart from the person that had open heart surgery, obviously. But it's the Obscene Publications Act in 83, 84, with White House behind it. So these things, and it's because of the dissemination of videotapes. They have no concern about these films being shown in a cinema, and that's where it comes down to a class warfare point. There's a presumption about who is watching films at home, and it's about media censorship because of distribution is the thing that's often forgotten on the video nasty things. But the list is fascinating because there are films on there that are raised up by inclusion. So Driller Killer is raised up by its inclusion, and then your Anthropophaguses, your Absurds are also. But then you've got Tenebrae, and you've got Possession, which are now films that are held in high esteem. So the Argento film and the Zaslavsky film, which are now seen as being classics of the time, but for a while are pulled down into the dirt with this of never should have been in that way. So Possession was limited to audiences in the UK for a long time and grouped with these films, which it never should be. And therefore it becomes a rediscovered gem and has had to fight for the reputation it has now because it was watched by people going, I want to watch a video nasty. And you go, well, what the hell is Possession doing on this list? So it's an interesting phenomenon. It's a terrible phenomenon, a stupid thing. But you're right, there is a big shift between the types of films because they were just putting everything on that.
Yeah, and it was, when did it end? Like 99? Was the
there are still some films that are technically banned is the thing. So it only ended in if a film gets reclassified. So
Gotcha.
there are some Nazi exploitation films on there. So it's like SS women at the SS experiment camp and things like that are still arguably banned. They wouldn't be enforced, but because no company has tried to re-release that. So because the BBFC, who first did the banning, they used to be called the British Board of Film Censorship. Now they have very importantly changed to film classification because they see their job as to classify films, not to censor films. And that was a big ideological shift. So these films would not be banned anymore, but there are some films that are still technically banned because they have not been recertificated.
Interesting. I want to look at the scores though for this because we're talking about like sort of quality comparison, right? And so this movie can't really like find a ton, but for the Tale of the Tape, we are looking at the scores from its IMDb, which it has a 4.8. We have Letterboxd coming in at a 2.6, but then it's Google,
which is below Babe 2.
Oh wow. Okay, but I think 2.6.
But every film should be below Babe 2. So that's fine.
I think 2.6 on Letterboxd by Letterboxd standards is not really that bad. I did like
that's pretty good. That is kind of the horror suite. If it's not prestige horror, the between a 2 and a 3 spot is there's a lot of people like me going, this is a 4-star movie. It's great fun. People going, I just watched this, and what is this? 2 out of 5.
Pretty much. And then its Google user rating is 86% positive. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the general sort of like regular audience of people that are giving this a thumbs up. But that actually gives us a Bad Movies We Love total score of 62 out of 100. So this is a movie that falls into the bubble between sort of something that I would say I think is clearly really probably a good movie and then something that is clearly really probably a bad movie. So we're talking more this season about movies that end up in this bubble. And it's kind of interesting to see that it has such a high sort of like general audience approval score because they're like, there's no Rotten Tomatoes for this, right? There's no Metacritic for this. There's a lot of metrics that I would look at to see where the sort of general consensus falls. And really, there's only half of the available scores that I would look at for this. So I think I want to know from you, like, do you view this as like a piece of trash that's entertaining, like an actual bad movie? Because I feel like there's good bones here. Like there is a story, there is a plot, there is a sort of like middle, beginning, and end. It has a lot of the
end's awesome.
Yes, it has a lot of the rigid structure of what would be a coherent film. And then what we get is sort of like a very sloppy
It's so sloppy, it's
skin
bumbling.
on the top of it. And I gather that like you really enjoy this movie. I saw your review. I think you only gave it 3 stars on Letterboxd. So for you, like
It's a 4
that's fair.
now.
Okay.
With my rewatch, it's a beautiful 4. It's to go to the Google reviews. That's a lovely case of selection bias, though, isn't it? Because people that are going to watch a movie that is called Night of the Bloody Apes from the 60s are probably going to like a film that's called Night of the Bloody Apes from the 60s.
Yeah.
People that are not going to like this film are very unlikely to be exposed to it
That's fair.
in a way that films that had distribution and that were released and are seen by people. So the reviews are misleading, I would say, in that way, and a bias towards people going, I was looking for horror trash and I found some horror trash and I liked it because it was horror trash.
Yeah, like confirmation bias. Like, hey, this is what I was looking for. I can't be disappointed
It's called
because
Night of the Bloody Apes.
I knew I was eating out of the trash. So I'm really not surprised to get a mouthful of garbage. But like to your point, this only has slightly over 1,000 total reviews on or ratings on IMDb at all, where, you know, popular movies are in the 250,000, 500,000 range. So even the people who have seen this, I think that's probably a fairly small selection of people, even probably within the group of people that like trashy international horror films from this era. This still seems to be sort of like an outlier from that category.
Yeah, because it's not very good. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's because it's not your iconic. It's not as absurd as absurd. It's not as deeply memorable. It's just a little bit shonky. In ways that I find, I like that it is quite boring and that I can zone out from it and the movie just kind of happens to me. And every now and then someone says something that's just absolutely ridiculous, like what a funny thing for a person to say. And then he gets an ape face for a while. And I do like that it has objectionable content that is filmed so badly that I can't find it objectionable. In a better film, I would be really aghast by the treatment of women in this film because it is appalling. But it just can't edit a scene. So there are a couple of sexual assault scenes, but they are so badly edited that it's hard to feel anything negative about them, even though what's been presented is really regressive and really horrible.
Yeah, I mean, like, as I was watching it, I was like, oh, the first thing he does when he turns into an ape is sexually assault somebody. I'm like, wow, okay. So, and then the more I read about the director and the lead actress who, Norma Lazarano, who does nudity for the first time and sort of was like pressured into doing nudity for this, I'm like, okay, all of this stuff is beginning to sort of add up. And it is interesting that the monster character has multiple sexual assaults on women, and like even when he doesn't succeed, like the first thing he does is go after their clothing. So I feel like this is more of a delineation of like the director's maybe proclivities and what he wants, because at least in what I read was that the actress who plays Lucy, who is Norma Lazareno, she only did nudity for this movie, and the director, I think, convinced her to do full frontal nudity, knowing that it was not going to be included in the film because it would be censored out. So she's like, why are we filming something that is not going to be actually included? And it's like she was in a position where she didn't feel like she could say no, and it's a really sort of bad.
Yeah,
it's a bad look because it's a bad thing to do, obviously, but I think sort of, you know, what we saw that has come out through like stuff with Harvey Weinstein and the Me Too movement, and sort of like how long this kind of behavior had existed in filmmaking, like outside of Hollywood, the sort of exploitative nature of directors being like, hey, what I think I need for this movie is boobs. So I'm going to just make all my actresses do nudity, even when it doesn't necessarily warrant it, or we're going to film a lot of stuff that's not going to make it into the final cut because I want them to be naked personally. So it's kind of like, it makes it a much more sort of like exploitation heavy film than I think it needs to be, given the sort of ape nature of the story. Like, why does the ape feel the need to do sexual assault, like, because he just like he stabs a guy at one point, so it's like he knows how to use a knife, knows how to murder. He rips a dude's throat out. So like, where does the sexual assault part of the ape character work its way into a story like this, other than the director is a pervert?
Yeah, the director is a pervert, and that stuff is indefensible, which is why I enjoy the limited craft of the film. But that's where the shonkiness is additive, because if this film was better, it would hold up to real scrutiny, because the implications of this film are abhorrent. Because it fits into two camps, and we will go down this because it's worth talking about. So one camp is where many films would critique this. This is actually a tacit endorsement of the belief that there is a bestial heart to man, and that if man could get away with it, man would be out there sexually assaulting every woman he could see, and which is there's a bunch of presumptions about sexuality there, about gender, etc. And stronger films have critiqued that or shown that as a product of a sexualized society that shapes gender in a certain way, and therefore gender is performed in that way. This film just seems to think that's just the case, which then comes with the impossible to ignore optics, because this ends up with the ending of King Kong, that there is an implicit racial subtext to the film about the bestial ape men. Without overstating the point, there is an evident racial allegory or allegory one could make that is absolutely disgusting, that is in line with what the film is saying and doing. And if it was any more competent, much like the original King Kong is, and you go, this is a wonderfully made film, but oh my God, there is some stuff in here that if you think about for a second is abhorrently racist. It has that going for it, which now makes it bad for me to say, what a good movie.
Well, I think, to your point, this movie doesn't have the vocabulary to get to have conversations about this kind of stuff. This is a movie that I think is more of like, we're going to grab this thing that's popular, we're going to grab this thing that's popular, we're going to grab this thing that was popular. We're just going to sort of like throw those things together in a haphazard way that makes our movie work, but it's not using considerations of all of those other sort of like cultural conversations that you're talking about here. Like it like you said, it's so shoddily made that you can't really burden it with conversations about
because it's not fully articulated. You're right. The film cannot make its own point because the scenes don't coalesce, and there isn't any logic to any of the presentation because the narrative doesn't really come to anywhere. So when it can't string a sentence together, it's hard to string a critique together over that.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this like particular sort of monster character also being the doctor's son, like part of what I was asking myself, it was, I know that the implication that is told to us as the audience is really about like the gorilla heart is too strong for my son's brain. And it's pumping his brain full of like gorilla hormones.
Gorilla blood.
Yeah. And I was like, but wait a second. The gorilla you introduced us to was just like hanging out in his cage. He wasn't like violent. He wasn't assaulting anybody. So part of me was like, well, was his son, based on what we know about who the doctor ends up being, right? Like he's involved in every crime.
Every crime.
He's involved in every crime.
Like Mr. Mistopheles from Cats. He has broken every human law.
Yeah, so we know that the doctor is like a really shitty person, and it's like, so his son is like the son of a rich doctor who has leukemia, and then as soon as his leukemia is healed, he is able to then go do all these things. So I'm like, does the movie like even understand what like the implications of that could be in that like
no.
Yeah, exactly. So I just found it interesting that I was like, well, maybe the dude was just like a horrible dude the whole time. And if it wasn't for his leukemia stopping him, he would have been out on the streets doing all this regardless of the monkey heart.
He has been balanced. It's like a sim. You putting into his points. If it wasn't for his leukemia, he'd be killing everybody.
Well, what we see is that, like, yeah, he eventually gets the reverse heart transplant because the doctor's like, oh man, that 1 in a million thing that could have happened, like, happened. So now we got to kill somebody else and give him a new heart. And so they give him the heart of some innocent woman. And then it's like, well, guess what?
Which brings in the luchador stuff, arguably.
Yeah. Well, then, like, yeah, well, my ape superpowers should subside because I now have this innocent woman's heart, and it's like, no, ape superpowers are coming back.
Someone else also in this movie. I guess they kind of connect, but not really.
Yeah, she had like CTE, severe like skull fracture or whatever. So let me set the table here for a moment. We've already talked about the movie plenty, but just to cover anything that I didn't cover the first time. So Night of the Bloody Apes is indeed a remake of René Cardona's own 1962 film, The Wrestling Women versus the Killer Doctor.
Yeah. Hitchcock can do it. Michael Haneke can do it. Why not this guy?
Exactly. But the new film was directed by him and co-written with his son, reimagining like some bits of the plot, but seeming to forget all of the things that tied the plot together in the remake. The film was released theatrically in Mexico in 1969 and then the US in 1972 with additional bits of gore that were added to the movie. The film made the infamous Video Nasties list, so it was rated X and banned until 1999, and then the film was released on DVD by Film 2000 on July 22nd of 2002, and on April 1st of the same year, it was released by Image Entertainment as part of the 4-disc Beauties and Beast box set. In 2006, It was released twice by BCI as part of a multi-disc set on August 8th, and on March 26, 2007, it was released by Redemption. BCI re-released the film on March 4th as part of the 4-disc Crypt of Terror Horror from South of the Border movie pack. And it was last released by VCI Video on July 15th of 2014. And over the course of its life, Night of the Bloody Apes has gone on to earn a place in the pantheon of B-movie exploitation schlock. And here we are talking about it.
Yeah, there you go. All those releases, and here it is.
Yeah, so it's like as soon as it sort of made it off the Video Nasties list, it was like, all right, we are putting this in every weird box set. We're doing all the special releases. We're really sort of doing like a full workup for all of this stuff. So I want to ask you a little bit first, because his assistant, is this Goyo? The Igor-like character, the doctor?
Okay. Yeah.
His right-hand man who incinerates all of the bodies, the cadavers, because he just has an incinerator in the basement. For stuff like this, he's just got that cage down there because, nothing nefarious has ever happened in this basement before the kidnapping of the ape. This is an interesting character in this story to me because there seems to be, if I heard it correctly, like they were soldiers together? Or did I misunderstand that?
This movie just likes to throw out ideas, though, doesn't it? It's like, you're a wrestler, you're a soldier, I'm a doctor, why not? You're a police officer. And also, another tenet of the Video Nasty list, which is a thing that I enjoy greatly, but it's also a tenet of subcultural, countercultural movies. Strangely anti-cop films, the absolutely inept police force in this film.
Well,
greatly pleasing to me.
Very interesting choice, too, because you have like a handsome, tall guy playing the lieutenant, and he spends a lot of his time focused on his girlfriend's wrestling career.
Yeah.
And then when it actually comes down to being involved in the police work, like we have this moment where they're in the office and they're sort of like breaking down the case, and
this is a human hand. This is a different animal hand.
They're different, but they're also the same. I'm telling you, the human hand and the animal hand are from the same hand. So
maybe the best scene of the film. That was so good.
So we have all of that sort of unfolding in, I guess, I don't know if it's like the police precinct or if it was like the hospital office or whatever, but these conclusions that are leapt to in order to like catalyze the plot to make the detective have something to actually do is, to your point, I think, like maybe not so accidental teardown of the cop, because like I said, the thing that seems to be missing from this is the cop actually like doing police work for most of the movie, which only happens kind of in that one scene, and then it's like all falling action from there. And it's like, okay, we're learning as we go after we've made the decision that, hey, this is a beast-like beast man creature, which I don't think they have enough evidence to actually suggest that at that point, but they've got to get the crime solved.
I mean, they have a lot of it's the great thing of this is how inept the police are. Of this beast man has been just walking around the streets, just murdering people. That if anyone could just say, "Yes, I saw a man with an ape's face," they have so much eyewitness testimony. There is no sense of actually hiding the crime. They're just very, very bad, and that's good.
They are. I think there was one survivor who got away. That was the one who sort of ID'd the monster man and gave the police enough of what they needed.
I get that it's the night of the bloody apes, but he's just walking around. He's going across building. He's just going across town. This man is very seeable.
He is, because he just walks straight out the window, and then he's in like a public park, so he doesn't really try to hide anything. And then everybody that he comes across is getting mangled. So I think there was that one woman that got away and gave the description to them. But
she also very much seemed to die in the previous scene. Again, the editing is not very good. There's a lot of just rubbing of faces and fake blood appears.
Well, I mean, he's got very, very strong hands. So the strong hands. Exceptionally strong hands. Well, I used my exceptionally strong hands to write a synopsis haiku. How about you?
I did the same.
Okay, I'll go first. I don't remember last time, but you're the guest of honor, so I will go through the fire first. Okay. Evil lurks within, both the hearts of ape and man. Lucha for the win.
Not dissimilar haikus that we've got here.
Similar minds.
I tried to include a lot of original dialogue from the film in my haiku.
Oh, boy.
So, potent ape blood heart. Exceptionally strong hands. Luchadors will die.
You did well. Very potent ape blood in this.
Potent.
I want to talk about the heart surgery a little bit, okay?
Oh, it's so good.
This is very graphic in that this is obviously footage of a heart surgery from the 60s. And maybe even like a Mexican heart surgery. This doesn't seem to be.
It feels worryingly like it was done for the film, and they've gone, it's just footage. I'm like, it doesn't. It is real footage, but it doesn't seem like real footage. It just seems a bit back alley.
Yeah. I think that was like the exact thought that was running through my head. I was like, this just looks a little sloppy for it to be medical footage.
Probably because ape hearts are so potent that it's very hard to deal with.
And I mean, like, I hope that this wasn't the kind of thing where it's like, hey, we're going to do open heart surgery on some random like person that we cast. Or we had the guy who played the doctor go out and with his assistant Goyo and tranquilize a random person in the street and then drag them into the studio to perform open heart surgery.
After suffering,
Yeah. But I love that at the end of, the surgery, the first time, he kind of just like drops the heart into his open chest cavity. And then is like, that's how, don't worry, that stuff will start to heal.
That's probably why it made his brain all bad, because he just dropped a heart in there. He didn't do anything.
Yeah, we wired it incorrectly, and then we started stimulating it with the electric prods to get it beating again. His son, though, doesn't like do anything as a character beforehand, right? Like he's just in bed, he just has leukemia. We have this very sort of like elongated scene between him and his dad, where his dad's like, yeah, the treatment's working well, your leukemia is going to go away. And then he turns around and like we see him sort of in the room with his son still.
It was a lie.
You have the son looking up at him like, oh, yeah, my dad is so great. He's saving my life. He's not like reading between the lines that his dad had to like turn away to hide his face here.
Yeah, he's just laying there going, I can't wait for this leukemia to go so I can kill some women. Oh, I'm so looking forward to it.
And I couldn't quite tell. The son himself is not the same person that plays the fully ape creature, right? I was like, it looks like he got bigger.
No, because his torso, he is. He swells up. They talk a lot about him clearly getting an ape's face, which still doesn't really look like an ape. It looks very bad, but he very much swells up.
He does. And that was one of the like things that I'm trying to like pay attention to is like, oh, did they just like put a mask on the actor who was playing the son? Because he's wearing full pajamas and he's in bed. I'm like, well, he could have been that like that buff underneath the covers, and then they just, you know, they finally like gave him a chance to play outside of that. But I think it's Gerardo Cepeda is the actual beast version of the creature. So
no actor could fully convey what happens to a man when an ape's heart takes over their body. It's like not even Daniel Day-Lewis could really kind of like embody that. Not even Andy Serkis could, through manipulation of digital effects, convince you of that. You need to get a second person.
I would have liked to see more ape-like behavior, because that would have been fun. I mean, he gets like the strength of a gorilla and the face of something. Maybe not a gorilla.
Rejected costume department.
Yeah. It's like, this is what we have left over from something
and
else.
It's shriveled.
It is very shriveled.
It didn't come out right.
I do like that they took the time to sort of do that slow, like sort of like bit by bit transformation that we've seen in sort of like a lot of like 60s era and I guess like 70s era horror movies.
A bit time lapse.
Well.
It's cool.
Yeah. So they put some effort into that. Like, obviously it doesn't look amazing because it goes on a little bit too long too, I think, you know. You're also switching people, so like you don't have sort of like the natural face mapping that would happen in that situation. Yes. So you really have a lot of these things in this film that add up to it being sort of like accidentally entertaining. But I think like on paper, if you were to just be like, hey, this is the story of a very overzealous doctor who's way too confident in his medical skills, and his plan to save his son is to inject him with an ape heart, and then things go horribly wrong. I think like on paper, if I'm just reading that, I would be like, okay, I'm interested. Like just reading the description.
And there's luchadors, you say? Yes, I'm into it.
Right, exactly. So just the description alone says a doctor tries to save his son's life through a complicated heart transplant operation, the involuntary donor being a gorilla. Eventually, the young man turns into a violent hybrid.
I love the implication that he could involuntarily. That they like.
Yes, did the gorilla sign his consent forms? Because we're gonna.
Oh god, we didn't file it. Oh damn it!
And so, I think where the cop like first gets involved is that the gorilla was taken from the zoo, and that's like the first.
They think it's missing for the whole film, and it's very worrying, the state of policing, that a gorilla could be that missing, and that crime could have happened. That all of these crimes have happened, have got away with, really reflects how terrible, I mean, policing in general, but the state of policing in this town place, it is alarming. There's a lot this film has to say about law enforcement.
Yeah, the sort of notion that like, oh, the gorilla just escaped. Well, like, how did it escape? Like, even
like there's no evidence of escaped gorilla.
Yeah, even just mathematically, at like the very bare minimum, you would have to sort of acknowledge that like somebody else was involved besides just the gorilla, right?
Oh, their police work is amazing. They just literally go, was gorilla in here? Now isn't gorilla in here? Escaped.
Look, they have lucha matches to get to, all right? They can't spend all their time working on this. He's like, look, my girl's wrestling tonight. I got to be there.
I hate.
She's the main event. I also, I don't really like that she's in a position of power like that. But at the same time, you know, I got to be there to support her. And in
case she kills another woman in the ring, you know, it happens.
Yes, which sort of happens. And I want to circle back to that because first I want to ask you sort of, what is the primary reason that you would speculate that people say this is a bat?
I would say because it's boring and poorly made. It's probably why people think it's bad. Because it's boring, poorly made, and there's quite a lot of sexual assault in it. It's probably why people say this is a bad movie. And to those points, I go, you would be correct.
Yes, not wrong on any of those fronts.
Indeed. I counter, but it's good though.
One of the images that is in the collection here is one of the DVD covers, I think, and it's something weird video. So it's this double feature, an orgy of terror, half man, half beast, all horror, Night of the Bloody Apes.
Just taking the RoboCop tagline.
Yeah.
It worked for them, why not?
But interesting that they chose to describe it as an orgy of terror. And I mean, granted, like this is at a point where it's like, yeah, you're trying to sell the movie as well, but sort of glossing over a lot of those implications about the gratuitous sexual assault that happens over and over again throughout the film says a lot about sort of how the filmmaker and his son potentially, oddly enough, right? Dad and son combo in the story as well. How they viewed the women in this story, but the luchadores, who is at the head of like the B plot, seems to be like a fully actualized, good character that should be a whole hell of a lot more involved in the story. But I think she does have the last line in the movie.
I think that's why the film is really powerful. Now, I was about to make a really crass. I was about to make the most crass comparison ever, which would have got me severely. I watched a movie recently, which I'm not going to allude to what it is because it's such a crass comparison, and it's a really fantastic film. It's a fantastic film that came out last year. That one of the reasons why it's brilliant, and you can probably from the implication work out what film I'm talking about. And I'm not trying to say they're like each other because that's really offensive. But why that film was brilliant is because it's about a horrible thing that happens to a person in that film. But the film is great because the character feels like they deserve to be in a different movie and that it could support just being a hangout light drama about this character, and that the film the character deserves is wrecked by this assault that happens, and that really highlights the life-altering consequences of assault. Now, this film is not the Apes is not like that, but in a way, it does show how major an ape man escaping is, that this whole lucha plot that could be a movie has to stop because there is an ape man on the loose. And that juxtaposition really pushes the importance of the ape man on the loose.
It does. It completely turns the movie inside out and takes away who I expect to be the main character, and is like, your story doesn't matter because...
It's like Psycho.
Because this doctor couldn't help himself, had to do some fucked up stuff to save his son, who may very well be a sexual predator even before the ape part. So
that's the gender commentary, is that women are out there being brilliant, but they won't be able to get stories while there are still mad doctors out there taking advantage of their power and nepotism. Nepotism and mad doctors are why we don't get female-led stories. And that's what this film is saying.
Yeah, well, that's Mexican filmmaking of the 60s for you.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the trailer for this film, because
I'm amazed it has a trailer.
Me too, because I don't know if this came out for the DVD. Like, it was uploaded in 2022, but it says the trailer's from the film in 69. I think it's like a square aspect ratio, so I'm looking at it like maybe this really was the trailer back then, but let's pull that up. Before we get to the trailer, it's time for a quick commercial from the multiverse. Face your fears by facing your own face. Introducing Monkey Mask, the all-new 100% organic and 100% medically unethical rejuvenating face mask to keep your face looking snatched so that it doesn't get snatched off by some beast man in the dark. Monkey Mask is made from authentic, locally sourced apes, because who knew ape blood was the key to human longevity? Just apply a few drops onto your fingers, rub the serum onto your clean face, and watch Monkey Mask work its magic. You'll see noticeable results on the very first day, and you'll be doing hurricane ranas in no time. So why wait when you can go ape? Monkey Mask, imported from Mexico to avoid the pesky FDA. And now, back to the show. With sound. There we go. Okay.
With sound.
Hopefully not too much.
It does say theatrical trailer.
Yeah, it says that, but we'll see.
But anyone could. Oh, I forgot about that ice scene. Yeah, that ice scene is
bloody
interesting.
apes. creatures born of
Creative.
madness, half man, half beast, all horror.
We're gonna circle back to that decapitating. How come he's only got those weird teeth half the time?
It's the monster!
The night of the bloody apes.
Random guy in a park shows up wielding a knife.
One man challenges nature on the night of the bloody
Boyo.
apes. Sharing
There's the heart.
the name of science, daring divine will with his bizarre creations.
But a horrible half-beast half-human.
Sharing bloodlust in the name of science is an interesting way to frame this.
That's so great.
And again, and again. The lust of a man in the body of
They.
a beast. What can stop them? What can appease them?
See? Like,
Yeah.
this doesn't make it seem like a doctor trying to save his kid at all.
No, this is a different movie. It's all the scenes.
Half man, half beast, all horror.
Throat ripping.
Nobody
Yeah.
sleeps. Beware
I don't know what those
Verhoeven is a
jaguar
hack.
of
sounds.
the bloody apes. They rip, they tear, they claw you to pieces. It's an orgy of terror.
There's just so much reused footage in the trailer.
Of the bloody apes.
Yeah, there's no reason for this to be 3 minutes long, but here we are.
This trailer is considerably better than the movie.
Yeah. And just in case you weren't sure what the title of the movie was, it is The Night of the Bloody Apes, which they've re-emphasized half a dozen times. I don't remember that, scissor hold takedown in the wrestling match.
No.
They claw you to pieces.
A lot of face squeezing.
It's an orgy
Yeah.
of terror. Beware. It's the night of the bloody apes, and the creatures of hell are loose. The night of the bloody apes.
It's like a Monty Python sketch. It's just like, we will keep repeating. We will keep repeating this point.
We want to make sure that the people that are going to go see this actually know what they're getting themselves into. So
That's a phenomenal
credit where
trailer.
credit
And it
is
just
due.
it shows the power of editing and the weak editing of the film.
Or lack thereof.
Exactly. It's like you can edit the footage of that film with sound design into something that looks exciting and violent and salacious. And then when the film is laid out in its 80-minute glory, it is none of those things. I mean, it's reminiscent of the Annie Hall story of that was barely a film until it was found in the edit. So, editing is a real skill and a craft, and this film doesn't have it.
Yeah, there's a lot
Trailers.
of people. There's a lot of people that have said, film is an editor's medium, and I think this movie might be a good example of that.
The strongest evidence.
There's a lot of movies where I watch and they're like, oh, this is 2 hours long. It probably really should have been an hour and a half. I feel like you can edit it down. If you edit this movie down probably all the way to where it should be, it's maybe
I think
50
3
minutes.
yeah. I mean, you edited it down to 3 minutes. That trailer, European Night of the Bloody Apes, we've seen the perfect form of this film. There are a few of the choice lines from the movie in there.
Well,
That's
also
it.
the trailer itself included nudity, which I was not expecting, which I don't know if that's in violation of a certain video company's internal policies, but it gives you the full shebang. I mean, the one thing that the trailer doesn't emphasize at all is that
The plot of the film.
the plot, yes, that the doctor is at least very loosely trying to accomplish this thing in order to save his son. It's interesting to me though that the trailer sort of like goes the complete opposite direction and is like, these are beasts, like they keep saying they, and then they keep flashing, they keep showing images of the doctor like doing the surgery at the time too. So I'm like, was there an understanding throughout all of this, like in the marketing, that the doctor was the villain, because the movie makes him seem like he's not as much of a villain as he actually is, despite the fact that he kidnapped and murdered a gorilla.
Again, does all of the crimes.
Yes, and and then kidnaps and murders a young woman who he had previously done surgery, which I guess they sneak her out of like her hospital window, very casually.
It's not good practice, though, is it? It's just not good practice.
It's not. And
now, if you're in the medical field, kidnapping people and murdering them, it's just not good practice.
Yeah, I mean, at least if you're going to do it, he did it to like someone he had already operated on, so there would be no question.
That's better practice. No, you're right. To be fair, it's not terrible practice. It's just not good practice.
So that way he could inject himself right back into the middle of the investigation, because he knew, like, oh, this is all going to come back to me, so I'll be able to buy time. And he's the one who sets, I think, the timeline. Well, we're going to give it a few days. And if we haven't found her by then we can officially say that she didn't get up and leave on her own, and we'll consider it an actual crime. But the trailer seems to at least partially acknowledge that the people doing the surgery are like part of the villain. And I think given the use of the they pronoun, that usage in the trailer is selling an idea of like a sort of underground like cabal of evil that is doing these things, like the surgery, the kidnapping, the murder, and the doctor is responsible for the apes killing spree as well. So like he's really at the center of every crime involved, but I still feel like the way that he is mostly portrayed, he still has like he gets like a hero moment at the end of the movie.
He saves a child.
He does. Let me talk to my son. My son clearly doesn't want to do this, and let's save the child.
The ending is why the film is great, because it is a great movie, as we all agree. Because for those that have not seen the film, and don't watch the trailer, it's better. But the movie ends with Julio, or Julio as he keeps calling him, grabs a child and stands on the edge of a tall building, well, tallish, as a gesture of "you can't shoot me because I've got a child." So the doctor just keeps saying, Julio, give me the child, Julio. And in any other film, there would be this great thing of, oh, the child is given back, and that shows a moment of humanity in the monster, and that's what we reflect. But without missing a beat, child's given back, just monster's just shot, bam, dead, and that's it. Just the police below. Yeah, we shot him now. Oh, is the child gone? He's dead. Bam.
The one cop who definitely was involved in the shooting, he was ready to shoot the monster while he was holding the child. He had to be restrained. Again, pointing to inept police work, they see the monster with a young child.
Where I'm from, we just call that police work. But.
Well, yeah, fair enough. But I wanted to ask you, though, there's a moment earlier in the movie where Julio is out in ape form, and he's hiding. He's hiding around a corner, and then there's a kid, I don't know, whistling, presumably with either groceries or candy on him, and he leaves the kid. He leaves the kid alone, and the movie makes sure to stop, slow down, make sure that he doesn't assault this child, and so there's definitely something there, because then we come back to the end of the movie, and he's now grabbed this young child and hasn't. Like, he's not threatening to throw her off the roof. He's not, like, assaulting the young girl, but we do hear the girl scream. I'm trying to figure out what the movie, like, wants to say in that moment.
I think
about how the child is perceived by the monster and why that's important.
I think much like Wu-Tang, the ape is for the children. And he deeply cares about children. I rewatched Jurassic Park a couple of weeks ago because it was just the evening and we were just looking at things to watch, and my wife and I were just, what film we haven't seen for God knows how long? Jurassic Park.
That's a good choice.
When a film is really, really good, you'll find ways to excuse things in it that don't really make sense. You'll come up for reasons. So there's a bit in Jurassic Park, which is a very analogous film to Night of the Apes, where I think it's a T-Rex and the Velociraptor scene, and the reason the humans escape is because the T-Rex chooses to attack the Velociraptors first. And my wife makes a very salient point of being like, well, that's a little bit far-fetched. So I decided to rationalize this, and I said, well, if you think about it, the T-Rex is more likely to recognize Velociraptor. I'm sure actually they were millions of years apart and never saw each other, but to me it makes sense that a dinosaur doesn't know what a human is, but recognizes the Velociraptors as prey, so therefore goes to them first. And well, there you go. I'm going to make this movie make sense for you because Jurassic Park is a great movie. So therefore, I truly believe that the ape sees the innocence of children.
I think there's probably something to that. I don't know that it's articulated super well, but
No.
yeah, like the notion of innocence in the child, because it comes down to the end where you have the father pleading with his son to then release another child and to like not pass this lineage of violence on to this kid. There is something there that I think, given it's a story about sort of like the inherent like bestial
nature of man,
that there's like some sort of like just at least tacit acknowledgement of like, hey, there is an innocence in children that we should not spread this to. Granted, there's a lot of innocent people that this violence should not be, spread to throughout the movie, but the line is drawn in the sand at, children in this film.
I think the movie is culturally interesting in that it reveals something that's very pertinent about society, which is that we overly sexualize women and we overly angelicize children, like the deification of children to the extent, and I'm not saying that because children either, it's the sense of there is this unfair, equally damaging portrait of children where children are not allowed to be full individuals but are idealized in a certain way. This plays into a certain worldview that is actually very true, and the film is not interesting because it is commenting on these. It is interesting because it's pointing out that society views these things in this ways and does reflect that. There's this tacit point in the screenwriting that children are innocent because they are children, and women are there to get their breasts out and to be assaulted because that's cinema.
Have you seen other of Cardona's films? Like, are these like things that he's grappling with in other films of his?
I mean, it's grappling with necks, obviously, very slowly. A lot of
necks
grappling.
And luchadors. Yes, there's a grappling theme that
more of
permeates.
A physical grappler. Yeah. I mean, as much as I enjoy Not the Bloody Apes, it does not make me want to reach to the larger oeuvre of the filmmaker.
Well, I am curious about the original one, the Wrestling Women versus the Killer Doctor. Like, if that one, if that one like articulates the ideas of this film better, and like this was just an excuse to remake a movie, like, hey, I'm getting paid to do it, whatever, and I can do it with my son, it's easy enough. Like, I am curious if that movie, the original one, better handles a lot of the sort of questions that have popped up as a result of this film.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, let's take a look at the bonus trivia, since I don't have actual real trivia here. There was a couple of questions that I could have formed, but I feel like I couldn't get a full trio of questions out of it.
Time for trivia!
Let's see here. What do we got? The band video gained attention due to its pre-cart video cover featuring a bloody surgeon's hands holding a scalpel with the caption, "Warning, this film contains scenes of extreme and explicit violence, but the film is today now uncut in the UK and is very tame by modern standards. Ironically, pretty mild even for the early 1980s. When it got banned."
Yeah. I mean, apart from the real heart surgery footage. Yes.
So as we mentioned, there is like legitimate open heart surgery. It's probably the only time I've seen like an actual beating human heart on a film screen. I don't know. There's probably more than one, but I don't seek them out. So if you're listening to this and you know of other films with real open heart surgery,
Deer uses actual heart surgery, but I could be wrong.
It's possible. Yeah. I mean, there's so many like medical dramas that have come between this movie and where we are now that like
this really did usher in the age of the medical drama. That is correct.
The technical prowess of making props for medical dramas and making stuff look more realistic for a hospital setting has improved greatly since Mexican cinema of the late 1960s. So I couldn't like pick it out of a lineup, but the distributor for the US added more scenes of gore and edited it so that the character of Lucy, who is basically our main character, is a lot less involved in the plot and the outcome. So the actress Norma Lazareno joked years later that in that version, basically all she does is wrestle and get naked, but thankfully not at the same time.
It's a good line.
Do you know which parts of gore were added to the US cut?
It's got to be one of the many interminable scenes of just a close up on someone's head being swiped. Because there are so many clearly insert gore shots in this of someone goes to be attacked, and then it is just a lot of B-roll that's just mostly just kind of vague squelching.
Speaking of vague squelching, okay, so Goyo at the end of the movie, he gets his head ripped off, correct? Yes, right? He gets decapitated? Okay. Because when Dr. Murderer comes home and walks into his living room, we sort of pan down with the camera to Goyo and his head, which should be on the floor, that is attached to his freaking shoulders.
Well, it's because see, modern audiences, they need everything to be spelled out for them, and it must be. They have this belief that if it's not in the film, it doesn't exist. What you need to have a room for wonder, and it's already established that people can be inserted with the hearts of animals that make them grow back things. Simply, at some point, a gibbon was killed off screen, and that gibbon's heart was put into him, and that's why he regrew his head. And I think that's very plausible.
But he still died. He regrew his head, but stayed dead.
Oh, yeah.
I just found it was funny that like the movie takes the time to like include all these like moments of gore and like, you know, even the shot with the eyeball, right? Like I give it A for effort because the eyeball looks like shit, but the effect
there's
itself,
way more eyeball on the inside than there's on the outside, which is that's not eyeballs.
Yeah, they're like just push a piece of like cheese through there and like, you know, we'll make it look as close as possible. But yeah, the beheading, like you're going through the process of like you're showing like basically it's just ripping the guy's head off with brute force, and then you don't cut the next scene close enough to edit it to crop out the guy's neck and shoulders, where you still see like the jacket and the shirt that he's wearing. It's the kind of charm that only exists.
Film criticism, just because there's a continuity error, or the guy without a head suddenly has a head again. Ding! It's just this sort of criticism. It's just ruining the magic of film.
I think what I love about it is that they either didn't catch it while they were filming and decide to like shoot it again closer, or in the edit they also didn't catch it again the second time and just edit it before the pan continues and shows the shoulders. So like at every basically quality control check along the way,
multiple points of failure. Yes.
Yeah. But I do have a soft spot for that. So the last, probably the most interesting thing that may or may not actually be related to this movie, Night of the Bloody Apes is also the debut unreleased album by R.A. the Rugged Man, who's an underground rapper in the States. That album was initially shelved, and then it was released under a different like pseudonym. So I was like trying to look and see, is it just a coincidence that this album was named Night of the Bloody Apes? I was like, I don't know. For an underground rapper, it seems like he may have seen Night of the Bloody Apes, knowing full well that it is this sort of very niche thing that a lot of people are not going to be familiar with. And just, I'm going to name my album that, and most people are not going to bat an eye or really know.
Yeah.
So I was looking at some of the tracks trying to figure out like, oh, is there a reference to like some of the lines of dialogue or something? Because I've heard other albums sample stuff from older movies.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was expecting that to sort of be the case here. And one of those albums, I can't recall which one, but they're talking about strangulation by very powerful hands. And I don't think it was this movie or this album, but I was like, yeah, I know for a fact that rappers will go in and sample like some of this old stuff that is very sort of like tangentially connected.
I mean, to go back to Wu-Tang again, that is that whole collective is so built around the prevalence of B movies in hip hop culture. And because there was So this is to jump a bit, obviously, in music future, but when Kendrick put out Damn and he took on the Kung Fu Kenny persona, there was some people not knowing the history of hip hop that were like, oh, isn't this a bit appropriate that you're like dressing up and doing this like whole Kung Fu thing? And he made the point like, no, this is a big history of the genre of there was a time where the type of films where you saw yourself on screen, where it wasn't just a white guy in the lead, was B exploitation cinema and kung fu films. So that's why that has such a hold on hip hop culture from that time. So the B movies and midnight movies and weird Mexican wrestling movies would definitely be part of that. So yeah, I could definitely see that being in the hip hop lexicon. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I would not have probably watched like Shaolin Assassin or a lot of the sort of stuff that I ended up watching if it weren't for Wu-Tang. So good to have that cultural crossover. But let's go to the bonus wheel. And I know we didn't do trivia, but I mean, we're going to have some fun anyway. We're going to spin the wheel. And we're going to see what kind of possibly disturbing questions you get from the wheel.
Oh, gosh.
All right. Well, this first one isn't disturbing, but it is fun. Oh. So what line of dialogue from this movie would you want on a t-shirt?
Probably the assassin must be exceptionally strong, especially in the hands. It's a great thing. But there's the potent ape blood. To talk about lines of dialogue, there is a lot that's said about greatest ending lines of movies. You know, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn, whatever. The ending line of this film just being a cold cut to someone saying, it's unfortunate, really sad, credits. That's sublime.
Yeah, caught me off guard there. I had to rewind it. I was like, wait, is that the end of the movie?
It's
okay. I see. Our lead actress is back, and so is the detective. Yeah. And they're discussing how unfortunate.
They're giving the moral.
Yeah. Let's put a nice bow on this before we drive off into the sunset and curtains.
But I guess the answer is the t-shirt needs to say, Julio, give me the child.
Good one. I like that. Okay, so let's go to another one off the board. What brand would shamelessly sponsor this movie today?
Now, Monster Energy, because he has the energy of a monster.
That's fair. That's a good one, actually. I really like that. There is also there's a couple of products. One, Gorilla Glue, because of the strength of its grip. I used some of that yesterday, so I should have thought about that. Yeah, there's also, I believe it's called Gorilla Grip. It's like a styling fiber for like the men's hair product, so it has like good hold. So yeah, I think
also gorillas. They've got a new album coming out. They can hold this, you know.
Yeah, any gorilla related item. I think
the Gorilla Girls Art Collective could get really involved with this, you know.
Okay, that's a good pick. Let's see. All right, so one more off the board. You get to fan cast a modern version of this film. So give me, let's see, which characters.
I'm thrown out of Hollywood.
Yes, which characters? I'm trying to think of which characters are like the three actual lead characters as well. So it's obviously the doctor, obviously Julio, the son, and then it's either, I guess, the detective or Lucy, or maybe Goyo.
Well, obviously, and it's stunt casting, but you recast the Doctor as Jeff Goldblum because you just do.
Fair, all right, do it. I mean,
you can't not really. And to give him the Frankenstein movie he deserves, I think that Julio, I'm going to say it, needs to be Jacob Elordi because he got done dirt by Guillermo del Toro. And he needs a movie that lets him showcase his real talents.
Okay. And then we're looking for I guess, yeah, I don't know. It's either Lucy the detective or Goyo, and I can't figure out which one would be the most important to the rest of the film.
Goyo's got to be Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis has got to do that.
Okay. Yeah, he can play it as a monkey, as the assistant, as Igor.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take it. Cool. Well, we spun the
budget's quite big for this. It's really not going to go well.
It's all spent on acting though, so I mean, at least we got that. So now we'll go to more or less, and you're just going to tell me one thing that you want more of from this film, and one thing that you want less of.
What I want more of, the Doctor saying lines directly at me. More of that. More of him saying ridiculous stuff. What I want less of, sexual assault.
Fair. I think that's a good pick. Yeah, definitely less on the sexual assault. I would say I would like more apes. Like, I would like. This is the night
But I
of the
think it's
bloody
funny
apes.
that it's not. But that's why the movie's good, because it's not. If the movie was truthful, it would just be unremarkable.
That's fair. Fine. Give me some. Give me some more. Uh, give me some more ape behavior. I'll settle for that.
Yes. More
Give me.
aping out. Okay.
Yeah, let him like swing from a tree or something like that. Something like he could pick up a
Eat one
weapon with his
banana.
pick up a weapon with his foot or something and stab
Throw his
somebody.
own poo. No poo
Yeah.
throwing.
Slight increase in the ape behavior, and I think I would be satisfactory because this is really like Frankenstein with an ape face.
I've not seen Primate, but are we sure that's not a remake of this movie?
It has definitely more ape behavior. It has a lot of ape violence, which is perfectly fine. You got a guy in an ape suit too. He is technically the pet ape of a research scientist, I believe. So there's probably more connective tissue than there should be, and that is a much bloodier night of the bloody singular ape. So if you like monkey violence movies, then that's definitely, I think, in the conversation.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you like really had on your plate that you were like, this is something that we have to talk about when we speak Night of the Bloody Apes?
I think we've actually talked about more stuff that's in the film. There are so few things in this film, and we've added our own things too. If anything, we have gone beyond the film. Most of the film is nothing happening.
That is fair. It is a movie where I was surprised at how much I could be sort of doing research while the movie was happening. And then I was like, there's no dialogue. Nothing is taking place right now. So, all right, well, let me type what I need to type for the show.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if that's it, then we'll move on to Critics Corner. But this is a movie where there's not really a Metascore for this. So rather than Critics Corner,
again, out of touch, can't trust them. If they're not reviewing if your favorite reviewer hasn't reviewed Night of the Living Apes, Night of the Bloody Apes, then are they a real reviewer? No.
Planet of the Bloody Apes. Let's make it happen.
That would be Dawn of the Planet of the Rise of the Bloody Apes.
Oh my god. All right. Well, I had to gather reviews from Letterboxd because there is no Metascore. There are critics' reviews of this, but I wasn't going to read entire reviews of the film. Usually, no. I like a good snippet, a good pull quote is what I like for this show, and so we'll do that with Letterboxd, and we start at the bottom with a 1-star. This is Rowan Coulter. Says, come for the
Rowan Coulter, I don't care for you. All right, you don't care for you.
Wait till you hear this, though. Come for the sexploitation. Stay for the actual heart surgery footage.
Well, actually, I'm coming for that, and I'm staying for that.
Exactly. I was like, this 1-star might win you over. All right, let's go up the board to a 2-star. This is Meteor Shower, but meteor spelled like meat.
Like a meatball.
Yeah.
Cloudy of a chance of meteor showers.
Exactly. This is a 2-star. Says, if you watch only one movie that splits time between a monkey man raper and a luchador with a giganto dumper that never actually meet or interact in any way, well, make it a different one than this because this wasn't very good.
Well, I can't disagree with any of that. However, I would like to say the movie is good.
Yeah, he had me going there in the first half, honestly. Not gonna lie. Okay, so this is from the Schlorbler. Gave it 3 stars. Says, I am not hard to please. If you slap a goofy looking mask on a buff guy, toss in some rah-rah, and have him kill people by throwing them lightly to the ground, I'm having a good time. I watched the original Spanish. I watched the original Spanish language version of this. I think the English dub has added gory bits because other than the heart surgery scenes, the cut I saw was pretty tame. It's been years since I've last seen this, but I remember it being much more violent. It was still as goofy and entertaining enough, however.
Perfect. Spot on.
Yeah, that's the Schlorbler. Okay. So we're gonna go up to a 4-star. This is Biscuit Boo 666.
Of course.
Says, I'm always thoroughly impressed with how graphic this one is every time I watch it. Probably one of the most unexpectedly nasty video nasties, I mean,
What?
it's a 60s
No, it's-
Mexican monster movie about a man becoming an ape man after receiving a gorilla heart in a transplant.
Okay.
They didn't need to go that hard. But man, do they just make a hard right into extremity, starting with real open heart surgery footage, 20-something minutes in. And it's a genuine shock if you throw this on expecting something as gleefully campy as that. Gorilla mauling, topless women, a luchador subplot, vibrant H.G. Wells red paint gore, that ever iconic 60s pulp horror aesthetic, Night of the Bloody Apes is an absolute trash classic. A full-on old-school 50s B-horror mad scientist monster mash with all of the misanthropy of exploitation epics of its day and beyond, sort of unique in how it blends these elements. Would make a killer double feature.
It doesn't.
It's not really blended together. It's it's
It
held
has them,
together.
yes.
It's
It is
held
arguably
together.
a blend in that they are there.
Would make a killer double feature with a fellow video nasty film about a murderous ape-man, Night of the Demon.
Yes. It's a better movie than Night of the Demon. Though Night of the Demon, if I remember correctly, has a really good penis ripping in it.
All right, well, I might have to watch that one next because who doesn't want to see some good penis ripping?
But they've all got very similar titles, so I have seen Night of the Demon. I remember not particularly liking it.
Okay, and then we close out with BRZ McDuck. Gave it a 5-star and just says simply an ape masterpiece.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's probably the best movie with ape in the title.
Ooh, okay. That's holding up against some like strong competition.
Yeah.
All right, well, because this person had suggested already Night of the Demon, I want to talk about gateway drug movies because I want to know this movie is very underseen. So what is a movie that is like maybe somewhere even in the ballpark that might convince somebody to push play on Night of the Bloody Apes?
The Spirits of the Beehive.
All right. I have not seen that, so...
There you go. Spirit of the Beehive. If you like Spirit of the Beehive, you'll love Night of the Bloody Apes.
Do you have like a general summary of what that film is?
Yeah, so Spirit of the Beehive is a really tender meditation on childhood during the fascist takeover of Spain, and uses parts of the plot of Frankenstein. It's Guillermo del Toro's favorite movie, and it casts a big shadow over that, and kind of like juxtaposes innocence and grand horrors. And it's such a touching, poetic movie. And if you are really into historically important works of cinematic art like that, then you're just going to love Night of the Bloody Apes. Just going to love it.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Yeah, I don't know if I have a good pick for this. I think like the obvious one.
No, neither did I. That's why I said that.
Yeah, I think like King Kong would obviously be like,
yeah,
there's enough like connective tissue there to make it make sense. But I think last time, correct me if I'm wrong, did we talk about Phantom of the Rue Morgue last time? Or I vaguely remember that popping up in conversation, but Murders in the Rue Morgue from 1932. A mad scientist seeks to mingle human blood with that of an ape and resorts to kidnapping women for his experiments. So I think just it's not
Dr. Moreau as well, I guess.
Yeah.
If you like Dr. Moreau,
body horror and animals, yeah,
enjoy that. If you like The Fly, why not? Yeah, actually, if you like The Fly, you'd be very disappointed. So don't.
True, yeah. I know. I was like, what killer monkey movies are really like out there that would
Primate.
make sense? Yeah. I mean, Primate, great. If you like Primate and you saw that, you'll probably still be disappointed. But
if you liked that one scene in Ad Astra, if I remember correctly, maybe you'll like this movie.
Yeah, look, I've always been afraid of killer chimps. There's a movie from the 80s. Was it Link? Yes, with Terrence Stamp and Elizabeth Shue. And that is like a 45-year-old chimp that is like the missing link. So it's like scientists, zoology, monkeys, not as directly connected, but yeah. I mean, just watch all the monkey movies, I guess.
28 Days Later's got that scary monkey at the beginning.
That's fair. I mean, look, to some degree, all monkeys are a little bit scary when they grow up to be adults. I mean, they're powerful. They have very, very powerful hands, and they will just
exceptionally strong.
They'll rip your dick right off.
I've seen it happen.
Hopefully only once.
Yeah.
All right. Well, come to the time in the show where I want you to plug whatever you're working on. Tell people where they can find you. Obviously, you're a busy man now, a father.
It's true. I'm mostly just fathering and watching 60s Mexican movies about apes. I'm peripatetically podcasting. I appear every now and then on the same collection of kind podcasters who give me a home every now and then. I thank them for it. Like this one. This is this is in fine company. So you will hear me pop up occasionally. The reason why I like this one a lot is because you won't believe this, listener, from listening to this episode, but usually I am taken on as I've been on the Raf's podcast, the Canon, quite a few times, on Brian's a few times, because usually I get taken on to talk about pretentious movies that are arty, and I like that over here. It's just the absolute trash, and I get to be in that mode. So I'm grateful for that. You can find me talking about video games a lot. If you want to listen to me talk about video games, then I have a relatively regular video game podcast called Quick Save. So you can listen to that. But I listen to past episodes of Stacks and I'm Thinking of Spoiling Things. I keep threatening to return with I'm Thinking of Spoiling Things, and we keep meaning to record, and then we keep both being busy, primarily me, because life is hard.
Yeah, well, fortunately, we have like an 8-hour time difference between us, so it can be late at night for you and still be like fairly early to mid-afternoon for me, so it gives me an advantage in that. But my door is always welcome. There are, 70-something movies on the Video Nasties list?
It's true.
So, I mean, look, 72, we do one a year, we'll be done in 70 years.
I will happily give an annual visit next year for another Video Nasty. I'll find a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the list and I was like, oh, there's a lot of stuff on here that I would actually like to talk about.
Some of them are very, very good. Some of them are some of the greatest movies ever made. Some of them are terrible. There's some stuff there.
Yeah, that's quite a unique list because of what we talked about earlier and how they all sort of get lumped together. But seriously, like anytime that you feel like you want to come on and, roll around in the trash here at Bad Movies We Love. This movie ends up being a bubble pick, so it's not quite as bad according to the ratings, but I think just like the eye test, right? You just watch it and you're like, is this movie bad? Like, yeah, I would say it's fair to acknowledge that it is pretty bad. But it is uniquely bad in a lot of very interesting ways. And like we imbued this film, or at least this discussion, with maybe a lot more heady context than it deserved.
Yes, you can talk a lot around the film. The film is doing nothing.
Yeah, that's sort of the downside, is that the film it doesn't really do any heavy lifting. It's like it almost gets there, and it's almost like a super interesting commentary on a lot of things. And really, it's like the director is just a pervert that wanted to make a monster movie with his son, and this is what they came up with. So, yeah, doesn't really walk the line all that well. But hey, it made for a fun discussion, so I'm glad that we did it.
Yeah. And maybe one day there'll be that reboot. Very exciting.
Maybe Andy Serkis, if you're listening, your monkey.
I'm sure you are, Andy. Hey.
Maybe one day some semi-famous people have listened to the show.
You know what? I didn't care for that popular video game you were in last year. I didn't care for it. You know what, Andy? In your face. Everyone else did, so great. I did not.
All right. Well, he's never going to listen to the show ever again after this. But
okay, good.
I hope you do, and I hope the people that have listened to the show have enjoyed our discussion. And if you have, then definitely check out our conversation on Absurd, because Absurd is a similarly insane film, but I think better across the board in pretty much
Absurd is special.
Everything.
Absurd is just one of the greatest works of cinema.
But also leans into the ideas of sort of inept police work, creating monsters in the basement. This time it's the basement of the Vatican, though. And a weird hybrid monster with like a very powerful organ that is corrupting his person.
He follows God through science now. That's great.
So that's a really fun episode. And of course, listen to the Stacks or Quick Save if you get a chance. I'll put the links for everything up in the show notes just for ease of access for everybody. And Stephen, thank you, man. It's been a pleasure. I'm glad we made it happen.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. I will come on any fantastic podcast that will have me. And a few of them do every now and then, so it's great.
Well, I look forward to the next one from the Video Nasties list.
Yes.
All right. Take care. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Steven for joining the show, and who knows? We may just work our way through all of the movies on the Video Nasties list at some point. If you had fun listening to us chat about this ridiculous movie, I would encourage you to check out the Stacks podcast and Quick Save, where you can find Steven talking about movies and video games respectively, and I will make sure to put the links for those up in the show notes, so it's just a click away for you. I am still working on the first Bad Movies Monthly, but like I said, I overbooked, so I'm way behind in terms of getting that all scheduled out, but I may just do it for both February and January, and then we'll roll it out from there. We had the first Good Movies We Love episode, and since Good Movies We Love is going to be a members-only exclusive for the Resistance Frontline members, if you want to spend more time together and you want to listen to those episodes, make sure you check the show notes for sign-up details. It's $5 a month. You get access to a bunch of different sub-series, access to the Discord server, automatic entry into giveaways, which is a fun one because we do giveaways periodically. Sometimes it's movies, sometimes it's cash, sometimes it's gift cards. You'll be automatically entered into all those contests if you sign up. There is going to be a double feature release to close out the month, and I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but it's going to be horror movies, so keep your eyes and ears peeled for that one. So if any of that stuff sounds appealing, make sure to tune back into the show for the rest of February and the rest of 2026. I know time is valuable, so thank you for spending your time listening to Bad Movies We Love. Until next time, stay safe, be good, do good, watch movies. Take care, everybody.